In this video, we will factor a quadratic trinomial again, but in this case, we will actually do it by a method called grouping. So this is an alternative for those people who don't like that guess and check method. Again, we're factoring a quadratic of the form ax squared plus bx plus c, where a cannot equal to 0 and b and c are real numbers. So for each of these problems, we will factor by grouping, and the first thing you need to do before you can actually factor this is to multiply your a value and your c value. So the product of a times c will be negative 84. We are then going to make our factor sum table just like we did when a was equal to 1. So we make a factor sum table. We are trying to find factors of negative 84, and we want the sum to be negative 5. So we have to pick two values. One of them will have to be negative. So I'm going to choose 2 times negative 42. Okay, and the sum there is negative 40, so not really close. We need these two numbers to be much closer together. So I'm going to choose 4 times negative 21. Okay, that's a little bit better, but that's still negative 17, so that's not quite where we want it to be. Again, I want negative 5. So I'm going to try 12 times negative 7. So here I get positive 5. All right, so then I'm going to try negative 12 times positive 7, which gives me the negative 5. So this is the pairing that I want. Now, from here, if we were doing this problem when a was equal to 1, first of all, we wouldn't multiply a times c, but we would pretty much be done. We're not with this problem, however, so we've got a little more work to do. So the first thing we do is we break up the 5x in the original trinomial. And what I mean by that is we are going to take 3x squared, and we are going to split up the negative 5x into negative 12x and positive 7x. Now, if you combine those two, you get back to negative 5x, and then minus 28. From here, we are going to group or factor the GCF from the first two terms, only the first two terms. So the GCF from the first two terms happens to be 3x. When you factor 3x, you have x minus 4. Now, our next strategy is to write a second grouping, a second set of parentheses. Here's the idea, though. Here's the big idea with this next step. You want this to be x minus 4. You're going to write that in first, in fact, because it's so important that it is x minus 4. So your goal then is to figure out what goes in this gap right here. So what do I factor from these last two terms to get x minus 4? All right, so I can tell I'm going to be factoring a 7. You need to always ask yourself, am I factoring a positive 7 or a negative 7? In this case, it's positive. Now, what you notice here is I actually have two terms. I've got one term here, the 3x times the quantity x minus 4, and I've got a second term here, which is the 7 times the quantity x minus 4. And what you notice is that with these two quantities, you have a common factor, which is x minus 4. I'm going to factor that common factor, so x minus 4 becomes factored, and then when you take that out, what's left? 3x plus 7. So your final answer is the factors of 3x squared minus 5x minus 28 are x minus 4 times 3x plus 7. So that is factor by grouping. On problem 2, we will continue, and we'll take a times c, which is in this case 2 times 27, and the product will be 54. We will then make again our factor sum table. We want factors of 54, and we want the sum to be 15. So factors of 54, the first one that comes to mind is 2 times 27. Now the sum is 29, so it's pretty far away from 15. So I'm going to try something else. Let's try 3 times 18. The sum there happens to be 21, getting closer but not quite there. Now I'm going to try 9 times 6, and 9 times 6, the sum, or 9 plus 6, the sum is 15, so this one happens to be the correct pairing. Okay, from here, I'm going to go ahead and, like I mentioned with the first problem, I'm going to break up the 15x. So it becomes 2x squared plus 9x plus 6x plus 27. Now, some of you may ask, well, does it really matter which one comes first, the 9 or the 6? And the answer is no, it doesn't really matter. You will get the same answer regardless. So put them in whatever order makes you happy. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and take the GCF from the first two terms. The GCF just happens to be x. So I will then factor that x, and I get 2x plus 9. Now remember the goal here. The goal here was to get 2x plus 9 here as well in the second parenthesis, the second grouping. So then I ask myself, what do I factor from the second two terms, or the last two terms, to get 2x plus 9? And the answer is positive 3. Again, knowing if it's positive or negative will determine whether this sign is positive or negative. In this case, we know it's positive. So let me go ahead and erase that so it looks nicer. So this is, again, positive 3. From here, we're going to factor these two out, so that's 2x plus 9. And what is left is in your second factor, which is x plus 3. So the factors of 2x squared plus 15x plus 27 are 2x plus 9 times x plus 3. Skill my getting, skill my get do.